Welcome to the Friday Night Network 2013 High School Football Coach of the Year Special, honoring Will Wagnon and the Munford Lions. This FNN exclusive is presented by Bill Stanford Automotive on Highway 21 in Talladega, home of the Bill Deal. The Coach of the Year Special is brought to you by House District 35 State Representative Steve Hurst, Jack's Hamburgers of Munford, Alan Parnell and the Parnell Insurance Agency, Homes 2 Excavating, the Steve Dean Campaign for House District 35, Big Daddy's Barbecue, and by Farmers Insurance Agent Nicole Ponder. Contributing sponsors include Jackie Swinford and Cheehaw Construction, Munford Food Mart, Talladega County Sheriff Jimmy Kilgore, Dabbs Auto Service, and Munford Recycling. Welcome into the brand new Friday Night Network Sports Studio. I'm FNN Executive Producer Jim Jacobs. You know, I can't think of a better way to christen all these nice new digs around us than by honoring one of our area's finest head high school football coaches and his team's special season. For us, this process started several months ago, beginning with 4 nominees: Ryan Herring of Oxford, Chad Young from Ranburne, Jonathan Miller of Sachs, and Will Wagnon from Munford. All had great seasons. All are very much deserving of recognition. But much like the game they coach, there can only be one winner. And by now, you know tonight's recipient is Will Wagnon of the Munford Lions. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll begin a process that will take us over a couple of hours. We'll take you inside the community. You'll meet the team. You'll learn more about their head high school football coach and the school where they all reside. It's all when we honor Will Wagnon as the 2013 FNN High School Football Coach of the Year. I'll take my seat up there behind the desk, and we'll get started when we come back. Welcome back. Let's face it, in Alabama, football is king. Why it's that way? Well, that's another topic for another time. But from our state's biggest cities to our area's most rural communities, Friday nights in the fall mean everything. There's no place that's more true than Munford. The Lions have a rich winning tradition, but before Will Wagnon's arrival 4 years ago, they had fallen on tough times. What does football mean in Munford? Well, we took our cameras to town, and here's what some folks had to say about it.
Football in Munford's a big thing. It's the history of Munford. It thrives our community. When Munford's winning football, everybody's happy. Saturday morning, everybody's keeping their heels up, grinning and spending money, making the community thrive. It's a big deal here in our town.
Munford's always had a strong tradition in athletics. And then it hit a little skid there for a little while. And then it could be several factors. Enrollment, the number of students coming out for football, what region you're in, and things like that. And then when the position opened up, a lot of people applied for it. A lot of guys from the area to apply for it. And Will came in. He's an outsider, but he understood the sense of urgency of building a program here and do a quick turnaround. And when you do that, it has an effect on everything. And I've been in this business about 25 years now, and was principal at Clay County for many years. And I'll say this: when you have a winning football season, the whole school year just goes so much smoothly. And athletics is the backbone to a small rural school. It gives the kids something to rally behind. It gives something, somewhere for the parents to go on a Friday night or a Saturday night. They get to wear their team colors and things like that. Gives people something else to talk about other than, financial stress or whatever. So, having a winning athletic program and having a winning football season, it just opens the doors to, and has so much effect on a lot of other things in a small school, in a small community. And with Coach Wagnon coming in his first year, winning a couple ball games, and the next year he comes in, he wins, he goes 500, and then the next year we go like 8-4 or something like that. And then this year a very special season that we had to go into the semifinals and came very, very close to making it to the state finals. You know, it just the sense of pride that we have in our school and our students and our faculty and the parents and the overall the Talladega County itself with the exposure that we're getting. It just, you know, we can piggyback our academics. We have strong academics. We've got a strong athletic program, and it just rolls over into basketball. A basketball program has been to 3 Sweet 16s. A baseball program went to playoffs. Softball team went to playoffs. So it just spills over in all of our other athletics. And when you do that, when you get it going, you know, winning is contagious. You know, so is losing, but winning is too. And when you start winning, everybody wants a piece of it, and everybody wants to, this is what it takes to win, and it just carries over in all the other sports and in the classroom.
It was always a really big thing, but I went through a time probably in my early marriage, say in the early 70s, that I didn't, you know, I even went some years I didn't even go to many football games. I would go to the homecoming every year. But I was down talking to Donnie Fields when he was down at Winterboro, and my brother went with me, and he was teaching at Lincoln at that time. And Donnie went and substituted as a principal at Lincoln High School. And he made the comment to my brother, said, you know, those were the best kids I believe I have ever had the pleasure of being a principal of. And Jack said, of course, you know why, don't you? And Donnie kind of looked puzzled, and I was definitely puzzled. Why? Because their football team is doing so well. And so I started paying a little more attention to that, and I did see that where if you've got a good winning football team, you have discipline referrals go down, your grades go up, the whole attitude of the school and the community changes. So football, and not only just football, of course the other sports too, when your team is doing good, it just helps everything. And it's hard something to measure, but it is true.
I believe that the high school football program in a small town, especially in Alabama, drives the community. When you're winning, everybody's in, everybody's happy, and when you're not, it just seems to, it's depressing. And it affects everybody, and it affects all the kids in the school. So bringing it back and watching it grow from where it had been. Now, I graduated in the mid-'80s. We had an excellent football program. My husband played. Both my boys played, but they've been out of school since 2005 and 2010. So I don't actually have a child in the program, but I did see, I know what football did for my husband. I know what he says, the lessons he learned, and I know what it did for my children, for my 2 boys, the lessons that they learned. My husband experienced the winning side of it. My kids not so much, but they still fought hard every Friday night, and they're proud to be from Munford. Now that we're winning and we're doing so well, I have people go, man, it's so good to be back here. It's so exciting. Don't you wish your children could have experienced the wins? And I'm like, they experienced what they were supposed to experience, and they're proud to know that we're winning. They follow us on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. So, but as far as the community, it is a big part. I've already got people asking about this next season. People come up all the time, y'all got a good hire, y'all got a good coach in Coach Wagnon. And that's from Oxford and other areas. So, but being here and living through all of it, being part of the quarterback club for 15 years, it's just great to be where we are now.
Football is the lifeblood of a small town. Football season in the fall, that's all everybody talks about. You grow up, either you're in the band, you're in the football season, or you're in the football team, or you're in the stands, one of the 3. There's very few people who's going to sit at home unless they just have to during football season. It is the thing to be at. And so growing up, I was in the band, I was at every football game. Even when you go off to college, you want to come back to be at football. It's always an exciting thing. And particularly this past season, as you look at as the build-up that Coach Wagnon has given all of us over the past few years, it's easy to make the comparison to me to the Alabama football team. You know, the Alabama football team was sort of wavering a little bit before Saban got here. It took a few years to get the program going, and that's exactly what Coach Wagnon did. Things were sort of wavering a little bit, and then last year everything was on point and on target, and you see the end result of the season. And I think we can expect some good things coming up the next season as well.
A coach's relationship with his players is a very special thing. It creates lifelong, lasting memories. We got together with 3 seniors off this year's team and asked them to share with us their thoughts on Coach Wagnon.
We always do something, or we always mess up in practice or something, or somebody always do something that was like irrelevant or real crazy to him, and he can always say, "Good night, Irene," or he'll say "nut" every time. He always killed us with that. Coach Wagnon was he was a great coach to be around. He wasn't just a coach to me or anybody else. He was a great person on and off the field. Like anytime we ask for anything, he'll take us to do this or do that. He was like, we ask him to take us out to eat, he'll take us out to eat. I can always remember me and my friend Tavon of mine, we was going to the Auburn camp and we didn't have no way up there. What we did at the time, then at the last minute, our way had got canceled. So we called Coach Wagnon at the last minute, a day before the camp, and he took us up there to the camp and fed us and everything. So it's always been an honor to be around Coach Wagnon.
He was a nut, like really, he was crazy. He was all around. I mean, he's one guy that you'll never meet in your entire life. Like, he's the only person that acts the way he does. I'm talking about, he'll run around, like at practice, we would do pre-practice, and he would line up against the offensive line acting like he was J.J. Watts. I mean, we know he ain't that good, but he's gonna go around, he's gonna line up in the stance, he's gonna come at you like he, you know, and he pushes you harder than anybody that you ever know, will ever know too. Another one of the memories was Lincoln, my freshman year. And you get in the locker room, we're losing, big rival. We haven't won in 7 years. And he comes in there, throws a fit because we're losing. Throws an absolute fit, throwing chairs, telling us that we suck and we're garbage, and we go out there and win it for the field goal.
Coach Wagnon, he's crazy. He never wear pants. He wears shorts all year round. And this year, our first home game, I remember, he came out with the red pants on, and it shocked everybody. He said he had to make a fashion statement. And I remember it was the Clay Century game. Our quarterback, Monteo Garrett, he had to come out because he lost his contact. And that made Coach Wagnon so mad. He told him, you better find something to put in his eye. It don't care if it's grass or anything, so he can see. He just have us. It's a good time when you're around him. He's never down. And during the playoffs, I remember it was one of the coldest days out there at practice. I mean, everybody had sweatpants under their pads, had big jackets and everything. And he came out there, he took everything off. He had on a short sleeve shirt, shorts, just low-cut socks and everything, talking about it's not cold, y'all just scared, it's not cold. And then we had to end practice early because he got cold. He's just a character when you're around him. I mean, he's just the world's strongest man when it comes to him. He said he never gets sick. He think he can just put every weight in the weight room on there and just bench it like 60 times.
We also asked all 3 if they would share with us a memory from a particular game as a Munford Lion.
Lincoln game, my freshman year. We was down, I can't remember the score. We was down, and I had a buddy of mine in the back. He graduated, his name was Kendrick Hanley. And Coach Wagnon came, we was down. It was a rivalry. Lincoln's one of our rivalries and everything. And came in, we didn't know it was quiet as like you can hear a pin drop on the floor. That's how quiet it was in there. And me and my friend Kendrick Hanley was sitting in the back or whatever. So we think, oh man, we in deep trouble. And the first thing he did was the boy who had a board set up, he knocked it down. It was so quiet, and he went believably crazy. And me and Kendrick thought it was just so funny back there. He never did look back there. Well, the one time he looked back there, and he almost caught us. One time he looked back there, we was smiling, and the grin came off our face real fast, and we just, like, went to a straight face. There'll always be a memory, and it motivated us. There'll always be a memory that I have with Coach Wagnon.
The Heflin game. I remember that one. I could have swore we were up 7-0, and the snap goes over the punter's head, and they're at the goal line, and they're going to score. And defense played great all game, and we come and there's like 20 seconds left. I think it was a third or a fourth down, and we were on waggle left. It was a backside wheel, and Tavon wide open. Caught it and did his thing, and he went and scored. I was going crazy. I thought we were going to lose the game.
It was the Lincoln game. They had a running back number 2, and he wore goggles because he wore glasses, so he wore like the sports goggles. And we was losing, I remember, and he had a pacifier mouthpiece in, and he came in, he just said, "Y'all telling me y'all cannot hit the guy with the red specs?" He was on that the whole game. He said he's got red specs and a big pacifier. He's halfway as a baby, and he can't see. So y'all telling me y'all can't hit him? And I mean, it was just, we was losing, so we couldn't laugh, but inside, everybody was cracking up because he just stayed on him about the red specs.
Thanks, guys. When we continue, I'll sit down with assistant coach Eric Firestone. Amanda Kirkland is coming up with Will's wife, Tiffany Wagnon, and Alan Parnell and Coach T join us to take you through Munford's season game by game. Plus, we've still got a little hardware to hand out. That's all straight ahead as the Friday Night Network's High School Football Coach of the Year special continues next. Few people know a high school football coach better than his assistants. Coach Will Wagnon and Eric Firestone, the team's defensive coordinator and strength and conditioning coach, have been friends since their high school days together at Hope's Bluff. Coach, thanks for joining us. Let's start out with how you and Will first met and how the relationship established to what it is today.
I was a few years older than Will, I believe 2 years older than Will, and I guess we got to know each other about the time I was in 9th, 10th grade, and he was into his years in junior high. I was real good friends with his dad, and after hanging out with his dad a good bit, he kind of took me under his wing. I ended up kind of taking Will under my wing a little bit, and we hung out in high school. And one thing about him, he was always very determined and always wanted to get better. And one of the things that we did in high school, we used to go before school to the Gadsden YMCA and work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. And we did that, and I think that was a major impact on him as far as he carried that through his college career as far as a work ethic, and one he's still got today.
What was it like for you and Will to play high school football together? Boy, there must be some special memories there.
When I was going through, it was Coach Payne was our head coach, and he was Will's head coach for 1 year, and then we kind of struggled the last couple of years of Coach Payne's tenure there. We went to the playoffs my junior year, which was Will's freshman year. Will didn't really play a whole lot, and then the next year, Will was a sophomore, and he started a couple games at corner. He wasn't a receiver, which he played in college, but he was 5'10", weighed probably 130 pounds. He was a little bit of nothing, and I remember he had to start against Jacksonville one game because one of our seniors had gotten in trouble, and I just remember him being scared to death. But he stepped up. I mean, there's a couple passes that was thrown his way, and he ended up making a couple plays on the ball, and you know, we didn't win the game, but we were in the game. And so I remember him just kind of being nervous the whole week going up to the game because he knew he was going to start early in the week. But the year after that, from his 10th grade year to his 11th grade year, he made a big change, and his body matured a little bit more, and his body really matured between his junior and senior year, and they had a really good year. I believe they went 9-2 that year, and then kind of set the course of that year set the course of Hope's Bluff win the state championship a couple years later.
If you don't mind, Coach, share with us the first conversation you had with Will after he took the job here as head coach at Munford.
I was at a school in Tuscaloosa, and he had just taken the job. I believe it was in February or maybe early March, and I called him one day, and he was on his way back home from workouts. He was driving back and forth. He was driving from Center to Munford, and then he was on his way back to Center to go home. and he was just talking about how the enthusiasm was there as far as the kids, and they were excited about coming out for football, but he was really nervous about getting his stamp on the program and how long that was going to take. So we talked about coaching changes and me possibly coming aboard, but or then another friend of ours who's on staff now possibly coming aboard, but that didn't happen for a couple of years. But he was very excited about the job and was ready to take the challenge.
If you can, tell us about the process that brought you here as one of Will's assistants.
Just during the course of the year, he was busy, I was busy, and we ran into each other at the state track meet in Gulf Shores. And I really hadn't hung out with him in a couple of years. He had been busy and I had too, and it kind of gave us a chance to reconnect and kind of talk football a little bit. And for about 2 days, we just kind of we were talking back and forth. And then once we got back home, I got back to Tuscaloosa and he got back here. He called me and said, "I've got a job opening, and I need somebody to run the defense." And I told him I didn't want to go. I was happy where I was at, and I mean I had tenure. We had a good team coming back, and I'd love to help him, but I didn't want to go. And he stayed on me. His dad called me and recruited me and stayed on me, and prayed about it, and this just seemed like the right thing to do, and we transitioned over here, and it was tough, but it's been worth it.
Can you share with our viewers just what the coaches' expectations were going into 2013 for this team?
Well, we thought that for the immediate future, this was going to be the year. 2013 was going to be the year. If we were going to do anything, it was going to be this year, and we were going to build upon this year. We had a really good spring. The year before, we finished on a pretty high note. We won 5 of our last 6 games, and we thought that with the seniors we had coming back, that we had a chance to do something special. And we worked really hard in the summer, put a lot of hours in, did a little more extra work towards the beginning of the of 2 days, and we knew that we could be good. It was just a matter of if our seniors would step up and be leaders, and they did.
I'm curious, Coach, did the staff know early on how good this team was? I mean, you guys almost played in the 4A state championship game.
Yes, absolutely, we did. We thought that we could definitely make a run, if not play in the state championship game. We knew that kind of early in the year, after around about 2 or 3 weeks into the season, we would kind of look in, I guess, in the playoff brackets type thing. We didn't really look ahead, but we knew that if we could get to the playoffs, we could make a run, and so we knew that we could be pretty good.
Coach, let's talk about Munford's run through the playoffs. How intense was the pressure, or would you say it was just more fun?
Well, playoffs are always fun. Some more than others, but we played Ardmore the first round, and it was a tough game to prepare for. But we started out pretty heavy. I think we scored on our first offensive play. They went 3 and out, and I mean it was a fun game to coach, because pretty soon within the game we were scoring pretty much at will, and that was a good bit of fun. The next week we were hosted Gunnersville at home. We struggled a little bit offensively. Defensively, we were doing pretty well, but around the end of the third quarter, they blocked a punt and scored a touchdown, and I think it was 16-7 at that point. And then within a matter of a couple more minutes, they got the ball back and they scored again, and it was like 16-14, I believe. No, excuse me, it was 19-16, and they had every bit of the momentum. And I try not to think negatively during games, but I was thinking that we'd gone to the second round the year before, and surely we can do better than this, and hopefully this doesn't get away from us. But offensively, we put together a drive. we scored, we went ahead, and we didn't look back from there. The next week at Johnson, we played by far the most athletic team that we faced all year. And the weather conditions were pretty rough. It rained pretty hard, and the wind was tough. And field position was a big factor that night. And we scored the first drive, and then they scored the first drive, and they went for 2, and got it. And so they were winning 8-7 the majority of the night. And if it wasn't for one play from when they punted, one of our returners just picked the ball up and happened to make a couple plays, and we had to kick a field goal, and that was the difference in the game. But very easily could have got away from us, and we ended our season up in Johnson. And when we played Aniana the next week here, we faced by far the best overall team. I mean, they won the state championship the next week, but overall, as far as athletically, coaching, skilled, scheme, they were the best team we faced all year.
Can you tell us what you think this staff learned from the Aniana game that will help you better prepare for getting over the hurdle of a semifinal game to get to the championship and maybe win it all?
I think they had 8 or 9 guys that played both ways, offensively and defensively, and started and played the whole game. Whereas we mostly play one side of the ball. We'll play. I mean, if you start on offense, that's what you do, or defense. But the guys that played for them, they played the whole game, and they got after it play after play after play. And we've got to find a way to be more aggressive, more of the game, and more snaps of the game. And that's one of the mantras that we're using for the 2014 years to be more aggressive. And I don't think it's anything with us, our scheme-wise. We had good athletes, but they were just a little more aggressive than we were.
Coach, you had a really special bunch of seniors. Talk about this senior class and what you think life is going to be like here at Munford without this group going forward.
Well, it's tough to lose. I mean, you lose kids every year. I mean, especially that you get really attached to. And those kids were 10th graders when I got here, so I got to be with them for 3 years. And already it's different. And when we go, and we've been lifting weights for, I guess, about a month and a half now. And when they're not in there with us, and we're used to their leadership and just them being around. I mean, they're still around, and I see them playing basketball, but it's just, you can already tell there's a difference. And but at the same time too, we've got some younger kids that are starting to step up and starting to see some of those qualities come out in them too. So it's going to be a challenge to replace them, but we've got some pretty good skilled guys that we still have.
Thanks, Coach Firestone. When we continue, our Amanda Kirkland shares a completely different side of Coach Wagnon's life as she talks with Will's wife, Tiffany. Plus, there's a game-by-game recap on the way with Alan Parnell and Coach T, Troy Wagnon, Will's dad. All of that is straight ahead when we continue with the Friday Night Network High School Football Coach of the Year special. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the FNN special honoring Coach Will Wagnon and the Munford Lions. Look, behind every great coach, there's usually a pretty special wife. Tiffany Wagnon definitely fits that description. Not only is she Will's biggest fan, she's also the glue that holds their family together during the football season. We welcome Tiffany now. She's going to talk with us about what it's like being a coach's wife and this special season. Tiffany, can you share with us some of your fondest moments of the year?
I know after the playoff game at J.O. Johnson, that was a game that we really weren't for sure going to win. It was a real tough game. It was a hard game, and I remember just being so excited, you know, when we had won, and I ran on the field, and he came at me and I came at him, and we just ran and hugged, and we were just both so excited to get past that point. I think at that point we knew we've got a real shot at this. You know, this year to get past that game was just a really big accomplishment. So we were just really excited, and we share the same passion for his coaching. And when they win, you know, we're excited. We're both excited. When we lose, we're both really sad. So I just remember being really excited that game.
Tiffany, can you share with us what it's like to be a coach's wife?
It's a roller coaster. It's an emotional roller coaster, because even my children know when we've lost a game, they say, oh, it's not going to be a good weekend at home, because we know he's going to be down, and he hates to lose, and he's just so passionate about the game and winning too. So it's exciting, and it's really, really good when it's good. But then it's really sad too, and hard when we lose. I see how hard he works and the extra that he puts in that other people don't see. He is there a lot, and he stays at the field house beyond what he has to or what he should, because he wants to be that good. And I'm used to it now. It was hard in the beginning of our marriage that he was gone so much, but I learned to realize to be good and for him to be successful, that's just part of it. So I've learned to be okay with him being gone a lot of hours. And basically, I'm a single mom during football season with our children, but it's okay. It's worth it. And after football season, we're always happy to get Daddy and husband back.
Share with us what it's like to witness Will's relationship with his players, both past and present.
He honestly looks at all the kids as his sons. He does, and he'll say, when we've talked about having a son, he's like, I don't need a son of my own. I've got 65 out there on the field. And he loves the kids, and I can say that wholeheartedly. He does. He loves those boys, and he hurts when they hurt, when they lose and they're upset. It hurts him to see them upset. And he has really come a long way as far as stepping up into the role of being a spiritual leader for the kids too. And that's very important to him, and he feels like coaching is a ministry to him. And he's able to minister to those boys that may not have that in their life or may not have a daddy figure in their life. So he tries to be that person for the boys, and that's really special.
This year's team has some pretty special seniors. Can you share with us some of those memories?
We always get very attached to the kids, particularly the seniors, because we know they're leaving. And this group of seniors, they were freshmen when we came in. So we've watched them go all the way through high school and watched them grow and get better. And so we are very attached to the senior class. And we usually are with every senior class, but this one in particular. And they are just an awesome group on and off the field, and we are really going to miss them.
Will has achieved a pretty high level of success, both as an assistant coach in Cherokee County and now as a head coach in Munford. Can you tell us how you think Will handle the expectations that come along with this kind of success?
We did lose a lot of talent. We're losing a lot of the seniors this year, but I feel like getting to the semifinals and getting as close as we did and feeling like, in hindsight, we should have won it all. I think they're determined, and the team that we've got's coming back fired up, and I've heard a lot of them talking, and they say, we're going to be better than last year. We're not going to be as good, we're going to be better. And he feels that way too, and they're working really hard to be as good or better than last year.
Let's take everybody back to the beginning. Tiffany, tell us how you and Will first met.
Will and I are actually from the same town. We're both from Hoax Bluff, and we went to the same high school, and his sister Lindsay and I were in the same class growing up. So I've actually always known him, but we didn't start dating until I was about 17 years old. And so we just met through his sister basically, and the rest was history.
Now, tell everyone watching what it was like for you to become a part of the Munford community as the coach's wife.
Well, coming in, it was very hard because obviously we didn't know anybody, and we picked up our kids and moved into a town where we were the outcasts, the strangers, and we got very involved, and I always try to get very involved with the other moms of the football players, the cheerleaders, and I just put myself out there and from the get-go and just tried to get to know everybody. And we got very involved in Munford Baptist Church, and that helped so much to meet all the community. And it was hard in the beginning. It's just hard to get to know people, but we have learned to love it at Munford, and it's turned out to be a blessing to us. We have made lifelong friends, and our children, they love it in Munford, and it's been good. This past year was the best year yet, and not just because we were winning. It's just like we finally felt our place in Munford, and we felt like, hey, you know, we're happy here, we've got friends here, and just, it was really good this past year, and we're looking forward to next year. We're looking forward to another year in Munford.
In closing, Tiffany, you probably know Will better than anyone at this point in his life. What do you think it's going to mean to him being selected FNN's High School Football Coach of the Year?
I think receiving this, he will be very humbled by it. He doesn't like to, he's not the type to flaunt his success or his achievements, and so he will be excited, and he will just be honored, really, to receive it, because he would never be the type to feel like he deserved this award. So to win it, you know, he will just be grateful.
We couldn't let Tiffany get away from us without sharing this photo from the season. This is Tiffany with a bunch of her friends and family in the stands voting for Will as Coach of the Year on the FNN website. How awesome is that? When we come back, Coach T and Allen are going to take us through Munford's great season game by game. That's when the FNN Coach of the Year special continues.
The Munford High School Lions 2013 football season was a great one. I'm Alan Parnell, and this is Troy Wagnon, and we're going to recap the season, go through each game, and let's get it going with the corner game.
Yeah, and the corner game was real important because it's the first game, and they've been practicing. We've been practicing for 4 weeks. Had just played a jamboree game, but was really interested, really excited about getting everything started. So long trip, 2.5 hours north of Birmingham. Bus driver puts in GPS, and we end up at the old school instead of the new school, and nobody's there. So it ended up finding the new school, sort of being late, behind schedule. And with Coach Wagnon, you never want to be behind schedule. So, but everything worked out as it always does, and we got out there and was ready to play.
Well, now, y'all actually left something, and I know that was not such a good start, too. Is that right?
Yeah, that's kind of on me because we had been practicing in rain and real cool weather, and the week before the game, it got to be about 100 degrees, and so we left and forgot the Gatorade. One of the managers didn't bring it, so nobody was going to tell Coach Wagnon about that, so we arranged for his wife and Miss Haynes, our Booster Club president. They found some Gatorade, so nobody was ever wiser on that one.
Well, I'll tell you what, that way, and leave it to Miss Haynes
yes,
to solve any problem that comes up, and she certainly did that. But Coach, what I remember is it was just really hot.
Really
that night
hot,
as you came
beautiful
in.
field, beautiful facilities, beautiful school. Didn't play like we wanted to play. We had all the confidence in the world going into the game. But offensively, the first quarter, we kept stopping ourselves. We dropped the ball for a first down. We had a punt return that was called back for a block in the back. So at the first quarter, it was 0-0, and nobody was very happy. But then come the second quarter, we scored 26 points.
And that's kind of more what everybody expected. But I think it turned out Corner had a little better football team than
they
we
did.
They'd
They'd lost a couple of their players, but they had 3 brothers that played that were really good. And I think that night, though, what we possibly overlooked is maybe how good our defense was going to be.
Well, and that showed throughout the season, but again, that pointed out there. You know, and we'd had such a good game against Childersburg in the Jamboree,
Yes,
too.
we had. We had some, and they'd had some adjustments that they made and turned out really a good team, too. But it was a good time to start. It was a good venue to play at, and Corner played hard the whole game. But we just pulled out in front in the second quarter and went in at halftime, I think, 26-0.
Well, and it was just a good game, good start. You know, once we got going there, I felt like, and again, just showed a lot of good things that were to come. C.J. Chapman had some good catches, as I recall. And of course, Monteo Garrett, what else can you say about him? He's good in every game we play.
Absolutely. And Tavon Lawson, like I say, ran a punt back, got it called back. I think he probably led the all-time football history of the number of punts for touchdowns run back that were called back.
Right.
It's amazing. But there would be a block here, or a bad block there. People having mental errors and, you know, block.
I mean, it was 5 or 6 or 7 during the season.
It
was a lot of them because we were doing them on the radio and. You know, it just, you look for a flag, it was usually there, but I think he finally did get 1 or 2 in.
Yes, we did.
Flagged.
We did, and I think what we came out of this game was that we had a lot of film that we could look at and work on and get better the following week. And that's usually what happens your first game. It's an old coaching adage. You improve the most between your first and second game.
Well, and I think we did. I certainly think we did. But watching the film here of Monteo and just knowing how good he was, and of course he started as a 9th grader actually, didn't he, Coach?
He did. He started actually at 13 years old. He was our tailback and one of our running backs, and then became the quarterback the next year. And what's most impressive to me about Monteo, and especially in a game like this, we played them the year before and beat them pretty well, and they knew about Monteo. And then a lot of times they still couldn't stop it.
Right.
So, you know, that's one thing to sneak up on somebody, but it's another thing to be successful when the other team knows pretty much where you're going a lot.
Exactly. But I see Tavon Lawson, just tremendous player, great defensive player, and I think that's probably where his future will be, is on the defensive side.
I think it will, but he can always go to the other side of the ball. And I think that's one thing Coach Wagnon and the other coaches realized maybe after the 2011 season and more after last season is we've got to get our athletes on the field.
Right.
So if somebody has to play more reps than normal, that's just the way it's going to have to be. But also, you know, Austin Stevens, number 14, really emerged in this game, along with our other defensive players who are really strong. Our defensive line up front, we had a couple of sophomores starting at nose guard, so it ended up being a very successful night.
Coach, all right, it's on to Lincoln, the Lincoln game.
Yes.
Home game at Munford, home opener, and really good game, great crowd, biggest crowd I think of the season. And, you know, of course we had Lincoln Munford's always a big one. So what's your recollection of the game?
Well, we were not successful in 2012 at Lincoln. Probably played one of our poorest games, maybe since we've been here. And we decided we would not be intimidated. We would play hard, and we'd play from one whistle. We'd play to one whistle to the next one, and just not leave anything on the field. And I think that's what happened. I mean, our great players stepped up that night, and some of our new players stepped up also that didn't have as much experience. So it started out really good. We ran a gut draw with Monteo. Had a long run there. We had other good plays. The defense has stepped up here again. In this game, Austin Stevens has the interception, one-handed interception, stops the drive. We get it, take it right back down there, and you know, have a successful drive there, take it right there on that reverse. Wasn't really good, well blocked, but certainly worked. So, you know, it was very successful there.
Well, Coach, it was a great game, and I think defensively, again, we really shut Lincoln down. I don't think they got much until the end of the game, actually.
No, they didn't, and that was when, you know, we saw it in the corner game, but it really became more evident in the Lincoln game that we can play defense as good as we can play offense.
Well, but I'm looking here. Monteo had a tremendous game.
Monteo had the game of a lifetime. If they had given a Heisman Trophy away after a high school game, he would have gotten it.
I think so. And I'd forgotten. I'm watching video here right now, and I mean, just so, I don't know how many yards he had, but it was a ton of them, and there he goes for another one right there.
And they're so big up front, it looks like a mismatch in warm-ups. They're so much larger than we are, but our line blocked extremely well. They came off the ball. We stopped all the penetration, allowed our athletes to make plays, and that's the whole basis of what we try to do.
Well, and I see Smith, 32 for us. He not only is a good running back, but he's a good pass catcher there too,
Right.
receiver, and he caught a touchdown pass.
Pound for
early on.
pound, he's probably the toughest football player I've ever seen. I mean, we nicknamed him Rocky because he seems sometimes to want to block a punch with his face.
Oh, yeah.
So he is as tough as they come.
Well, and he had a good season all year. Went down early with an injury in one of the games, but he came back and had a great season.
But right there, we got Tavon Lawson. We put him in our Wildcat package, and we run him out of the quarterback slot, and he scores. And, it was just a great night, special night.
Well, Munford 37, Lincoln 12. Great game. Well, Coach, let's move on into the Cleburne County game. That was a big one. Tight game. Everybody knew that fact is, Cleburne County and Munford, I think, were the two top picked ranked teams in the region there. Those who would take a guess there, and Cleburne County turned out to be tough. We both went deep in the playoffs.
That's true, and going in there, they were actually ranked in the top 10. And we knew it would be tough. We'd been on the road. We came back and beat them right at the end of the ball game the previous year, and so we knew they'd be ready. And this was the biggest game probably in the area that night.
Mm-hmm.
So we go in there, and I'm real nervous. Of course, I'm always real nervous, but I'm real nervous for this game because I know they're going to lay it all out there. And the game started pretty good. We drove right down there and scored, so I felt pretty good. And then, I mean, we played the next. Seemed like 3.5 quarters just neck and neck. And we couldn't get going anything on offense, but neither could they. We had a punt return call back on a penalty. We had a lot of different things to happen, and it was just a real tight, hard-fought game. Calvin Smith, Rocky, our running back, goes down in the first quarter, so we lose some personnel there, and it's just, it was just a tough game, but give Heflin all the credit in the world. I mean, they came to play.
Well, and we were watching just then, they were down there knocking on the door, and we had an interception, number 4.
Absolutely.
What's his name? I can't think of his name right now. But, and I know, but anyway, really good player, intercepted the ball, ran it back out to about the 20-yard line. But it was a tight game, and Heflin really got after us. Defensively, they'd hit you now.
And it comes down to the last, they score on a bad snap. We have a bad snap. They get it real deep. They punch it in. It's 7-7, and we're in the last 20 seconds. And, we're at midfield or less, and we run what we called a waggle with a wheel to the back side, and they saw it was open. They told the coach, and we ran it and scored. And it was good to pull out of Cleburne County that night.
I remember my recollection. Of course, the game was tied 7-7, and we were inside a minute.
Right.
And coach runs a play over here to the left side, and just like he's getting ball placement down there on the hash mark, which he was. I didn't know why, but I thought we're playing for overtime. And next thing I know, he runs that wheel.
Well,
right down the sideline.
both Tavon and Monteo told him the wheel's open on the waggle. The wheel's open on the waggle, and that was probably successful 5 or 6 times during the season. It seemed like nobody would wanted to stop it sometimes.
Well, we had run it against Childersburg. And hit a big one there too.
Yes, we did. So it was just a great play. I think it was not voted, but in my opinion, it was the play of the year.
Yeah.
Because it won the football game.
I think so too. Munford 14, Cleburne County 7. Great game. The coach is on to the Jacksonville game, another home game there at Munford, and a really good game for us. Now, we were coming off a real tough, controversial game with them the year before.
Absolutely.
So they came to play that night,
We
too.
stopped them that night in 2012. We recovered a fumble. I think Blake Haney recovered a fumble that night and took possession of the ball and was able to run out the clock. But this was sort of a revenge game, I think, for Jacksonville. We had just come off a hard game against Heflin. Everybody's banged and beat up, but this is an important game. You got 2 undefeated teams in Region 7, and they're playing to take the lead in the region. And so they did come. I thought we had a good crowd, a good active crowd. They were loud, and it really helped us.
Well, no doubt about it. Now, they had a really good back, and I don't remember his name, but he was relative of the son of a former player that we had, and so that kind of added to the fuel there a little bit. But we had a really good game, and that was another one that just let us know the season's going well. I see old Q, linebacker there,
Q
just
Taylor,
really making a good play.
Right. And yeah, and it was, and the offense worked pretty well that night. Monteo has a good run right there, and takes it to the house. Monteo Garrett, the human highlight film. And so it was good. But I think the thing I really took the most from this game, after the game in the Anniston Star, the Jacksonville players said that Munford was much more physical than they thought that we would be. And that's when you really start, feeling good about things, when the other team brags on your physicality.
Well, and I'll tell you something else I remember seeing later in the season. They were interviewing a Jacksonville player, and they asked him who was the best team that he played against all season long. Said Munford is the best team that we played all season long.
And our defensive line dominated that game. They absolutely just shut it down. They just shut them down. You see the quarterback there running for his life. Q Taylor again getting the sack. Bussey's in there, the 10th grader, Corey Smith. You just keep naming them. It's every game.
Well, and here's Tavon Lawson again, and here's a long run, and I'm betting if he scores, they called it back because and there he goes, long run and breaking tackles. Just what a player.
Yeah, he is, and what a kid though. That's the main thing. What a great young man. He's going to be a very successful young man. A lot of folks, I predict, will call him boss someday.
That could be. That very well could be. And of course, I see your kicker there. You have to help
Brian
with his name a little bit.
Brian Strickland.
And gosh, did he have some big kicks?
He had some great kicks, and played and had a lot of good plays right there. You see him making a tackle for a loss. Played the defense real well, and then kicked. And that's not real easy to do. Punt and kick and play defensive end. I
see Tavon blocking an extra point there for Jacksonville when the game was a little closer there early on.
And we're in a heavy package there with Q Taylor scoring and Monteo, rolling out, throwing a little pass, and we're off to great catch. So great game.
Well, no doubt about it. C.J. Chapman making a play there. Munford 36, Jacksonville 20. Another great game, and we're really on the way here at this point. Coach, next up, and this is kind of a tough one, Central Clay County. Not so sure that it wasn't a real good game for us. It wasn't enjoyable while it was going on, actually. But as the season went on, we probably came away with something that helped us a good little bit.
Yeah, we needed to play these people, even though whether we wanted to or not. The year before, they pretty much pulled in there with their 3-player buses, their big Greyhound buses, and they just pretty much owned us that night. So we go to Clay County, beautiful stadium, it's new. I told the other coaches in the box, they have 8 coaches on the sideline with headsets. We don't have, but I don't think 4 headsets total. So I thought, that worked. So I thought we were sort of outmatched as far as the number of coaches. I really didn't want to, go up against them one-on-one. But I think we played hard. I just sometimes don't think we played really well, particularly on offense. And they sort of had our number that night. We scored early on them. We got some confidence there and did some good things. But it just wasn't enough to come out with a victory. They're a really good team.
Yeah, we took the first drive right down and scored. We looked like a very confident football team, I thought.
We did, and when we had we picked up some interceptions. But it was just like, sometimes they'd throw the ball up and there's no way he can catch it, and it's tipped around and he catches it. Right. I mean, you just can't. Sometimes you just can't overcome that.
Well, I think, and we'll see. Even though they did have the upper hand that night, for whatever reason, if we just didn't play as well as we could have, that's probably the case. But I think as the season went along, we might improve a little more than they did.
Oh, I think so. They had a defensive end tight end that signed with the University of Nebraska. So, number 19, they're a good football team, and they're a great football program, and it's a great place to play. And they were. It just, we thought we had our chances, and it was still a football game in the fourth quarter.
It was.
And so, you always look for something positive. So with a little more help or a play here, play there, it would have went down, to the end of the game anyway.
Well, and I truthfully think it's a good rivalry. We're close. We're 25 miles apart, and just one that I enjoy playing them.
Yeah, and I think we should play them, and we're going to play them the first game in the 2014 season.
Right. Right.
So bring them on.
Yeah, I think so. And again, but Clay Central 30, Munford 14, and you know that was our first loss, only loss of the regular season, and just one of those good learning experience for us, I think. Coach, next up is the Alexandria Valley Cubs. They're at Alexandria, big game, and of course, whenever you're around here, you always know Alexandria's going to be tough, and they were, but they weren't as tough as us that night.
This is a special game for us at this stage because Coach Heath taught at Alexandria, coached at Alexandria. Coach Kilgore attended Alexandria. Coach Bowen, one of our volunteer coaches, great young coach, played quarterback 3 years ago at Alexandria. Another Coach Quad played at Alexandria. So, you know, we had some people that on our coaching staff that really wanted to get this done, and we're coming off a loss. Confidence may be a little down. I think the coaching staff did an excellent job of preparing our players this week, even on game day on some things that they did right before we left. But when we got there, I think we were ready to play, and I think we were ready to be successful. We had college scouts there that night. They were there to see our guys, and so it was a very exciting night.
Well, it was, and I just remember and then coming off a loss, you don't know how you're going to react.
You don't know how you're going to react. No.
And we reacted very well, and not many times you go over there to that stadium and beat these guys 36-0.
No, and you know, I kind of felt like, right at the end of the half when we got another quick one, you know, they exposed us a little bit. They ran up the middle. They were running in between the tackles a little bit. We were a little bit undersized there against them. And so they exposed us a little bit, but we kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and the defense started playing better and better and better, and the offense, you know, was picking it up and you know, moving the ball. So it really was a sweet night, and we shut it down, you know, fairly early. I mean, Coach Wagnon will never run the score up on anybody, even if he could. It just won't happen.
Well, and I've seen that because we had some opportunities to do that in the last couple of years, actually, and we haven't. 36-0, I think that's a pretty good indication of two teams.
I think it was, yes.
Coach, next up is a team that's near and dear to y'all's heart, the Hoax Bluff Eagles, and went up to their place, beautiful stadium, and those guys got after us.
They really did. You know, Coach Wagnon, Coach Heath, Coach Firestone all played for Coach Robertson at Hoax Bluff. You know, it was an exciting night for all of us. We were excited about going home. Of course, I still live in Hoax Bluff too. So, you know, it was an exciting night. We didn't start off well. We forgot the whiteboards. We always we forget something, but. Thank goodness my daughter and wife, they went and found us some more whiteboards. But
did Coach never knew that?
Coach, we didn't tell him. We don't like to bother him with a lot of those little items. But we started off so slow, they kicked our teeth in. I mean, they really did. They moved the ball on us. We didn't stop them well. We couldn't score. We had an open receiver for a first down to probably take it in for a touchdown to start with. We missed the pass. I mean, so it was not a good night, and I believe we were just ahead 6-3 at half.
That's just about right.
So we go into half, and it's not a happy dressing room. And so we came back out. The seniors really took over, I think, in the second half of that game, and they came back out, and they decided that we're going to do better than this, and we ended up, you know, scoring 28 points in the second half and putting the game away.
34-10, Munford over Hoax Bluff, and again, going up there. Everybody knows you. Those players knew who y'all were too, and they wanted to win the game.
Sure,
we had beaten them in Munford the year before, pretty good. So big win for us.
There's one thing about Hoax Bluff. I don't care what their record is. They're going to hit you as hard as anybody hits you all year long, and they're not going to quit, and they're going to play as hard as they can.
And they did.
And they did.
And they did. But we had a good football team, and it showed up in the third quarter, even though we played poorly in the first half.
And I think this game helped us, though, work on some areas that we need to improve in, that if, you know, they hadn't have played so hard, we might not have had that opportunity.
Exactly. Next up, Coach, is another team that's near and dear to the Wagnon's heart. Is Cherokee County, and is our home game, but we played it at Jack State Stadium, which was a great opportunity to go and do that.
Yeah, Coach decided early in the spring that since it was a race weekend and we had to play on Thursday night, why not just try to play at Paul Snow Burgess Field Stadium. And it was a great experience for our kids. And playing against Cherokee County, where Coach Wagnon worked for 5 years before coming to Munford, even made it more special. And going against Coach Trip Curry and his staff, and a lot of the players that he knew, you know, while he was there that were young, but he still knew of them. And here's a team that has not had a lot of luck for the season, made some mistakes that cost them some ball games and had some injuries, but was very strong on the offensive and defensive line. And that was the challenge that night. We had to keep the ball in motion and moving because they were a tough deal to try to block and try to move around on both sides of the ball.
And Coach, I think they were a team that had decided, they'd seen Montel run up and down the field on everybody, and they decided that was not going to happen against them. They forced us to throw the football, and guess what?
We threw it,
did.
And we had a great night throwing. C.J. Chapman had a great night. Montel had a great night throwing the football. So it was a solid game, although they did have some long runs sort of inside the tackles that concerned us, particularly at halftime. But it ended up as a really solid victory.
Well, it was, and I know it had some really long touchdown passes. We had a couple of interceptions, had one return for a touchdown,
pick six, right?
Yep. So Munford 41, Cherokee County 14. Sweet win for you guys, I know.
Yes, it was. It was against Coach Curry, and he means a lot to Coach Wagnon and to me and our family.
Well, big win for us, and in that environment, I know it's where Coach Wagnon plays college football too.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And there at Jack State.
Yes.
So really big win for us, and one that, you know, when we'd gotten to that point in the season, felt like we were really on track.
Yes, yes.
Next up, Coach, is the Anniston Bulldogs, and always a tough bunch, always a fast bunch, and
very athletic.
Might have been our best game of the season.
Probably was in hindsight. Here we are. We have clinched the area championship, which is rated and that's my tight end. Caldwell catching a pass over the middle, and I thought he was going to score with it. But we'd clinched the region championship. We were going into there maybe with not a lot to play for, except that we wanted to have an undefeated record in the region. And that night the Lions came to play.
Boy, they did, and I'm watching here, and defensively, we just shut them down.
We really played great defense that night. Here you see Rocky Smith running the football behind good blocking. It was a really fun night. It was really a fun night. I know FNN was there, and that made it even more special. So not a lot of bad goes on that night.
No, absolutely not, and just a big win. We had beaten Anniston the year before. And, you know, of course, it was just all, we remember the Anniston people. The year before, the first time Munford had ever beaten Anniston. And it was just really good.
And you see there a couple of plays before that, James Jenkins catches a big pass. The negative part of this game is that we lost Jenkins, number 11. You see him there making a great play that night on a play that should have been by rule blow dead.
Yeah, what were we kicking field goals?
We were kicking a field goal. We didn't want to score again. We tried a long field goal, and it got to the end zone. It wasn't blow dead. They ran it back, and our player trying to make a great play, playing the whole play, hurt his knee on that play.
Oh, that was a shame. We could have used him later on, too.
Absolutely.
No question about it.
He was voted our most valuable receiver. He has worked very hard to get back, and he'll be back. He'll be fine.
And he'll be a senior this year, is that right?
Yes. No, he'll be a junior this year. CJ will be a senior, I think.
Right. Okay. But this particular game, again, I think we just sort of manhandled Anniston. That's not very often you see anybody do that.
And we took the ball on a fumble away and took it in for a touchdown. And
that's Corey Smith right there
absolutely.
Doing that. Yep.
And there you go, Tavon. He's escorting and directing traffic, and so. It just is one of those you felt real good afterwards.
Well, no question about it. And Tavon, as always, had a big game here, and you know, and then some of the young guys got some playing time.
Yeah, they did. The young guys you see right there. I mean, you know, they came to play too. So, and that's it. That's important. And when you try not to score, but you can't tell a team to quit, and they certainly didn't.
And Coach, I remember this one we clinched the region championship 7-0 in a really tough region.
Ranked Region 7 last year by Y ratings was ranked the toughest region in the state.
Well, I believe that, absolutely. But Munford 55, Anniston 21, yes. Great win. Coach, next up, non-region game, but a real important game to Munford people for sure is the Talladega Tigers. we had beaten them in a really close game the year before, exciting game. And I'm sure they had in mind a little payback for that one. But and they played us tough early on.
They played us tough. They have a
Yep.
really fine coach, and Coach Herring. They were really well prepared. They had a great game plan. And the year before, when we beat them in the last few seconds, going for 2, I'd never seen the Munford crowd, I don't think, since we'd been there, get that excited. And I found out later that was the first time that Munford had ever beaten Talladega.
We had never beaten Talladega, had a number of opportunities. Several times we played them, we were probably as good as them, or maybe even a little better, but we just never had pulled it off. And we almost didn't that year, but we did this time.
We did, and it was one of those at halftime you felt really good about your chances. Monteo had a very solid game. I thought our running backs played better in this game, and as always, our defense, they came to play.
Well, and it was just, but Talladega was big, and I remember from the year before, the linemen were just really big, but we hung in there with them and hit them in the mouth.
Yeah, we really did. Kids played tough, and we were probably outsized at nearly every position. But here we go again. Here's the convoy.
Well, I think this is the one that counted. Was there a flag?
I think we finally got one to count.
Yeah, that
right
one
there.
counted there. Tavon about an 80-yard kick return there, and but they'd had so many called back during the season. But
Jay Scales, number 4, coming up and just collaring him.
And just and again, here's another one.
We caught him, and here's Jay Scales again. We caught him coming up, and he's out.
Well, and as you'd mentioned, getting all these athletes on the field together there, we just really had some good players at that time. There goes Monteo doing what he did so well for another long touchdown there, just out. He was as fast as he needed to be, wasn't he, Coach?
I don't think we've ever seen him run down from behind.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
And there goes Rocky, good block, and you see the line come off the ball, he had a wide hole, and they wasn't catching Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky didn't get caught from back. Well, he did too.
He did.
Got pulled down. I think he got tired there.
I think he might have got tired. And there's Charles Smith. I mean, he's running the ball. He's running like he should run all the time.
Charles is quite an athlete, and again, he finally toward the end of the season broke some of those.
Our young quarterback, running the ball real well there.
But again, big win for our community because again, it took us so long to beat Talladega, but 33-14, last regular season game, and now it's on to the playoffs.
Yes.
Coach, next up is the postseason, and first up there's Ardmore home game. They traveled about 3 hours from the Tennessee state line to come down and play us there.
Yes.
And good game for us. Tell us what you remember.
Well, they ran the ball a whole lot. They ran with 3 running backs behind the quarterback. A lot of more tried to run their power game, tried to shorten the game. They were going to try to keep the clock running and shorten the game as much as they could. Mm-hmm. And the defense just totally dominated this game. Although they sort of exposed us a little bit with their running game. There we go, some trickery. There's our play we call the ladder, and where the center gets the pitch. And, all centers want to run the ball. Never seen one that didn't, and he did a good job there.
Well,
but this was a good, solid win. This team is a very young team, a new coach. They hadn't made the playoffs in a long time. But they played as hard as they could. But we played really well. They see Austin Stevens coming through, making a great tackle. We had good pass protection, of course, and Monteo and CJ playing catch out there with the ball. So it was a good, solid way to start the playoffs.
Well, no doubt about it, and just felt. Of course, we'd gone to the second round the year before. It wasn't like this was our first playoff game, but it sure was good to get there and get a good win. And just played very well. And you can just tell we're a very well coached football team. Defensively, we just were sound, and it was a lot to look forward to at this point.
It was, and we were favored to win this ball game, but sometimes that doesn't always work out. And sometimes you don't play well. But I think our kids were excited to get to the next season and get this thing started right. But here again, they did move the ball on us. They had a couple of drives on us, and this would prepare us, for the upcoming games, which it was only going to get tougher.
Oh yeah. But we did have a little trickery here. That was a neat double reverse pass.
Pass, of course, yeah.
And so that was all kind of fun there too.
Coach Wagnon isn't afraid to run the old trick play, is he?
No.
We have nearly every day we have a period for just trick plays, And there goes Rocky Smith again, running the ball up and down the field. He's just such a solid player, and I expect him to have a tremendous senior year.
I don't think there's any question about that. And it sure was good to get him back from that injury.
It was. And here, the human wrecking ball, Austin Stevens.
How many tackles do you figure he had in the game? Coach, it was a bunch.
I don't know. It was a bunch. He just happens to be there. He reminds me of the old Alabama player Leroy Jordan, where Coach Bryant said if they stay in bounds, Leroy's going to go get them. Well, that's the same thing. That's the same way Austin is. If they stay in bounds, he's going to go get them.
Well, I'll tell you what.
But then that helps our defensive lines playing so well. They're keeping the blockers off of those linebackers, and that's what, that helps a lot. I mean, you've got Earl Moss, you've got Brian Strickland, you have our sophomore nose guards. Briar Bussey. I mean, it's just a team effort right there, and they're playing real well too.
Coach, we mentioned Terrence Williams earlier, defensive back. It was good all season long.
All season long. We really Greg, our other nose guard, was very solid. So.
And Coach, I see Cameron Turner here, and he
Turner.
He came on and played some receiver for us a little later on.
Yeah, he did,
I think.
and did a really solid job at corner. You may not hear a lot from Cameron, but I think he's sort of the shutdown corner, so you're not supposed to hear a lot.
Well, that's right. That's exactly right. But first playoff game of the season, we advanced. Munford 48, Ardmore 14. Coach, next up, second round, another home playoff game against Guntersville. And it was getting a little more intense as we got along here. There were some people that I had talked to during the week that said Munford's pretty good, but they can't handle Guntersville.
Guntersville was the biggest football team I've ever played against in high school, or I've ever seen, I think. And they're come in 10-1. They lost by less than a touchdown to Aniana early, and they had just been destroying teams. They just destroyed Brooks the week before, and we knew they were coming downhill, and they were coming downhill hard. They had an excellent running back, and their quarterback was also very good.
As I recall, Coach, we got off to a real fast start.
We really did.
And got a lead, and everything was going well. And about the early in the fourth quarter, it might have turned a little bit, and they kind of got back in it a little bit.
We made some mistakes, and they did get back and got it real close. But here you have a great play by our defense, picking up a fumble, scoop and score. Great play right there. I believe that's Cameron Turner, if I'm not mistaken. And you don't have to be real good on offense if you can do that on defense.
That's right.
And then here, for some reason, they kicked to number 1. If I was playing number 1, I would try to kick it up in the band.
Yep. And I think this one counted too. I don't think there was a penalty on this one.
This one counted too. Here he goes.
Wow, what a play. And he's just a special player.
He is a very special player.
Going to UT Chattanooga.
UT Chattanooga, and they've got a tremendous football player and person coming. Good, great route. This was really big. They'd gotten really back in the game. The game was close again, and we hit this pass to CJ. On fourth down, here we go. And we run a counter and counter Q, and Mr. Monteo Money Garrett takes it right on.
Well, no doubt about it, and he was not going to be denied on that play to score. Munford 26, Guntersville 16, and just another big win, and now we're deeper than we've been in a long time, going to the third round. And
there's no bad teams after the first round.
Absolutely. So big game, and now we got to venture out on the road, and that'll be an adventure. Coach, next up, third round game, we venture to Huntsville, Alabama, and again, very good J.O. Johnson team. And nobody thought we could win this one, and they were a tough bunch. I don't think they'd lost all season long. And we go up there and win a big one, but there's some pretty interesting stories that go with this game.
There is a little bit about the game, though, where Guntersville was big. These guys were as fast as we were at every position and faster at other positions. And so we knew that the athletes on this team probably we had not seen before as a collective group. So we knew we had to play really solid football on a really tough weather night. We get there early. We stay at a church. We have pregame meal. We get to Milton Frank Stadium, and we were unloading everything before the team got there. And about 5:30 before the 7 o'clock kickoff, we realized we have left the headsets back in Munford. So ingenuity took over, and we borrowed the earphones from the players, and we hooked them to our telephones. So we kept on our cell telephones the whole game, and that's how we communicated from the press box to the sideline.
And it worked well enough.
Oh,
right?
It worked great. Yes, absolutely. But then the game started, and it was we scored early, then they scored early, and then here come the wind. And if we learned anything that night, you always want the wind in the fourth quarter when it's blowing that hard. Cameron Turner makes the play of the season up to then. He picks up a fumble that has not been down. It's just bouncing. He decides to pick it up. He takes it right down to the 1 or 2 yard line. And then we have a couple of bad plays. We have a penalty, and we end up backed up outside the 10 with the game being 8-7 at that time. And here comes number 34. Big wind behind him. He hits a perfect ball, goes right through. We got the lead. Still time on the clock, but they're going into the wind. And I'm just hoping the wind picks up, and it really did.
Unbelievable.
You'll see another replay of this.
Right.
This is just a heads-up play by a young man that's a great football player. That's all it is.
Well, and Cameron Turner, again, just a real smart kid.
Smart kid, smart play.
And if he doesn't pick that one up and go, I don't know, Coach.
I don't either.
We were down 8-7 at the time.
Yeah, we were there, and it ended up 10-8. It was the greatest, ugliest game I've ever seen.
Well, it was sure a big win for us, and good chance. Win one on the road there. We had a good crowd up there that night. Had more than they did.
We had more than they did, and our crowd was loud, and they were really doing their job. And I think the crowd and the win were the difference. Having that win in the fourth quarter, and that crowd staying in there with us, it was really big. It was really big, and all of a sudden we're in the dressing room, and we're in the semifinals. We're in the fourth round. Wow.
Oh, no, and you think about it from where we'd been. We finished the season prior to Coach Wagnon coming with 20 football players.
Right.
And it just really the end of the season was pretty tough. And I remember that last game at Oak Grove, and now here we are. Like you said, we're in the fourth round, and we've come a long way in 4 years.
With the number one team in the state coming to Munford.
Well, and,
Redskins.
And again, just like nobody thought we had a chance against J.O. Johnson, not many folks thought that we would be able to hang in there.
Probably even a bigger underdog in that game with the Wagnon, even though they were coming to our place. And deservedly so. I mean, they had been to the state championship game the previous 2 years.
Well, it was a game everybody was excited about, and we got in there and really played hard.
We did.
Well, Coach, now we're ready to go into the fourth round, and even deeper than we've been in a long time, since 1992. And Wagnnon's coming to town. They're a good football team, and I don't think we were the least bit concerned. I mean, I knew we were going to play hard.
Oh, yes, and never back down a minute. We've always said we'll never back down from anybody. We didn't back down that night, but we were playing a great football team, well-coached football team. Coach Don Jacobs, veteran of many football teams and coaching jobs, and he had them prepared. A great group. They had a great group of seniors. It had been 2 years in a row, the state championship game here, and here they are. They need to get this one, but they were concerned. We knew before the game they were concerned. They hadn't really seen a team like us at that time.
Well, and we certainly got after them, and all I know is we got into the fourth quarter, and don't want to jump ahead here, but it was tied in the fourth quarter there, middle of the fourth quarter.
But here again, what I'll never understand, they're kicking the number one, they're punting the number one, and he's making them pay for it. And yes, and the night they kept so many people in the box to try to stop our run game. We knew that night we had to throw. And I think Montel Garrett had one of his better nights of throwing the football, particularly the number one.
Right.
And I know some people at the game from out of town that compared number one that night to Julio Jones as he was running up and down the field. But it was more than that. We had a good play to Earl Moss, our tight end. And we had some great defensive plays with Cameron coming up right there on a quick pass. But they were a great football team, and they did what they had to do.
They did, and they'd been there before. They'd won a lot of games. They'd played for the state championship the year before, and it was obvious that they came to play, and they've got a great football team, as you say.
And our offensive line, great. They were playing against a great bunch of athletes, but they never backed down. They played hard. Our defensive line played hard. So I think everybody got their money's worth that night.
Well, there's no all season long, Coach. I'll tell you, it was just really good. And again, Tavon Lawson just was a great player.
He just says, "I'm going to score. You're not going to stop me."
Yep.
And then we had a couple of balls dropped there right at the end, or right during the game, that would have made it, probably a tie game right there, possibly at the end. But it just didn't happen that night. But that doesn't take away the two best teams, in my opinion, in the state in 4A football were playing that night in Munford.
They were, and of course, as we know, Aniana went on and won the state championship the next week, and it could have just as easily been us.
Absolutely.
But great season, but that one ended 35-21. Aniana, Coach, your thoughts on the season?
Well, I've been in football all my life, from being a high school player to a college player to a high school coach to a high school referee to a college referee, and now back getting to help again at coaching. And I think Coach Wagnon said it best. After we weren't successful against Aniana and our season came to an end, we all wanted to go to the state championship. We all wanted to experience that. He's been there. He's been fortunate enough as an assistant to have gone 3 times. But it was more than just missing going to the state championship. That was the first time that he realized, and his coaching staff realized, that we weren't going to be able to meet with those kids on Sunday. The first time counting the Jamboree in 15 weeks. That we weren't going to be able to see those kids on Sunday. We weren't going to be able to go out there on Monday and they'd be ready to go. And that hurt too. But when we got to Munford, I remember the first year, and we struggled with a lot of different things. Our dream was to play in November. We just got to get to where we can play in November, and that means we'll be playing in the playoffs. Then in 2012, we got to play in November. Then we wanted to see what it felt to still be playing at Thanksgiving. So we were still playing at Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah.
So I will never forget, but going back to what Coach Wagnon always says, this is not about the football with these kids. It's about the kids. And I've been around players, and he's been around players his whole life, and never with a bunch of young men better than these, worked harder than these, cared more for these, and were probably closer to each other as these players were. And that's all the way from Monteo, Tavon, all the way down to some of our freshmen who are just getting their career started. Everybody contributed, everybody participated, everybody had a large stake in all the accomplishments of this season. And it's a season I hope the people of Munford will never forget, because I know the coaching staff will never forget it.
Well, Coach, I'll tell you, and me personally, and I remember, I'd said earlier, the condition of our program when you guys came, when Coach Wagnon came, and we'd finished with 22 football players, and I remember taking a beating at Oak Grove and in the rain, and just thinking this is pretty low, and you guys show up, and we have a really good spring, and I remember how excited it was, and our numbers immediately got better, and there was just excitement everywhere, and you just knew things were going to get better.
Well, that year we had some seniors that hadn't played football before, hadn't played football in a long time. But we knew our 9th grade, we knew our freshman class that year would be the class someday, would be the class that we were building for. And along the way, though, we've had good seniors every year to help lead that. And they've got, in my opinion, a large part with the success of this 2013 team of the seniors we've had since we've been at Munford.
Right.
They laid the foundation.
Right.
And no good structure is built without a good foundation.
Well, that's exactly right. But when you talk about building, one thing that they have done, and all the coaches who've been there have worked in the weight room, but not like this group has.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, and you look at our players, and you could tell, how much bigger we'd gotten and how much faster we'd gotten, and it is obvious, and our athleticism was just got bigger and better, and everybody knew, everybody we played talked about how athletic and how big we were, and without the weight room and the conditioning, that made the difference. And plus, we're just so well coached.
Well, I think when me and you in high school lifted weights, they sent you in there to lift weights, and you lifted weights, and the coach was sitting over in the corner. When our coaching staff when we work out, we coach the workout just like we coach the offensive line, defensive line, running back drills, and it's important. And every day there's competition. So, you know, I think that gets you to Friday nights where you're not afraid to compete.
Well, that's exactly right. But the other thing, as you mentioned too, is the closeness of the coaches to the players, the closeness of the team, and it's just been a great thing to see. And you know, we've kind of evened some scores with some people. Lincoln, we've won 2 and lost 2, and this year was really a sweet win for us. But Lincoln's a good program and a good rival.
Good rival.
For us.
They've got a great coach over there, first-year coach. He'll do a great job. Him and Coach Wagnon played college football together. Brad, and you know, but it was a great region. It was the best region in the state. And you know, I hate to leave this region, but so be it. We'll go a different route.
Well, we'll take all comers.
All comers.
But great season, and one that I've enjoyed spending time with you, Coach, and talking about and reliving here, and just hope for bigger and better things in the future. And I think just the future's so bright in front of us right now. But the only thing better than that is to move on into the presentation of the Coach of the Year to Coach Wagnon.
Hey, it's a great day to be a Lion today, baby. Guys, at this time, we got a special guest we want to recognize. So let me introduce him. His name is Jim Jacobs from Friday Night Network. Jim.
Thank you, Anthony. To get us started, I'd like to invite to the podium to help us out with this one of the key members of your football team this year, and he's been that way for quite some time. And unfortunately, graduation is going to take him away from here, but I'm sure Munford will always be a big part of who he is. Please put your hands together for Tavon Lawson.
I need all of last year's football team to report around the three-point line.
We felt it was really, really important to get each and every member of the football team's face on this video because, as you all know, football is very much a team sport. But a team has to have a leader, and your leader is the reason that we're here today. At this time, I'd like to invite your senior quarterback, Monteo Garrett, to the podium. Monteo.
Coach Wagnon, can you please come forward for this special presentation?
Come on in here, big guy. How about it for Coach Will Wagnon? Coach, on behalf of FNN, the Friday Night Network, in recognition of the team's 12-2 season, 4A Region 5 championship and playoff run to the state semifinals, the Friday Night Network, through its executive producer, independent panel, and online fan vote, hereby present this award to Will Wagnon, the head football coach of the Munford Lions, as our Coach of the Year.
Wow, this is a great honor and a huge surprise. I kind of wasn't sure what was going on. today. I figured, you know, two of the greatest players ever to play high school football, I figured that they were being awarded, but it's a great honor. You know, a lot goes into a football season, and a lot of hard work and a lot of effort. So there's a lot of thank yous. You know, God comes first for me and this team. So first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for the opportunity, for the gifts. For the gifts and the talents He has blessed me with, for the opportunity to be at such a great school, in such a great county, in such a great community, with such great students and staff. We are blessed. Next, I'd like to thank my wife and family. Football season, being a football coach is tough on the family, and they are wonderful with their love and support of me. And so a special thanks to my wife and family who do a wonderful job for me and this program. I want to thank the administration for their guidance, support. You know, without them, all this wouldn't be possible. My success, our success as a football team is a testament to their leadership. So I want to say thank you to all the administration, the office staff, behind the scenes do unbelievable job of helping us out, get to where we need to be, do things that we need to do. And a lot of times they don't, they're not seen, they're not rewarded for what they do. So the whole office staff, Miss Stevens, Miss Haynes, Miss Franklin, just thank you for what you do. To my assistant coaches, you know, this award has my name on it, but it also has the Munford Lions name on it. And so, you know, they were a huge part. We have the best group of assistant coaches that I've ever coached with, and I'll put them up against anybody in the state. They don't get the recognition that they deserve, but I want to thank them and their families for the time that they put in and the hard work and commitment they have to this program. I want to thank the teachers here at Munford High School. You know, your support, your hard work, and the things that you do for these young men to be able to be a part of a program so special. You don't get enough recognition, ever. Teachers today never get the recognition they deserve, and so I want to say thank you to all the teachers for your support, your hard work, and your efforts in helping these young men reach their goals. And, you know, last, I want to thank these players. You know, this is an honor and a great award for me, for my name, but also on this award it says the Munford Lions. And so this is a testament to your hard work, your success, and the great things that you did this year. What I did was just a small part, but what you did was a huge part. And here at Munford, we have a motto. It's character, class, and pride. And I believe that we showed character, we had class, and played with pride in every football game that we played this year. And we had one goal this year, and that was to be a champion. Be a champion every rep, every play, every day. And we are champions. Thank you.
I'd like to ask Tavon and Monteo to come take this award with Coach Wagnon and go down with the rest of the team. And guys, break it down like you do normally after practice. And that'll dismiss us. Again, we'd like to thank each and every one of you for what you've done here, and everybody make some noise.
Again, we want to thank Mr. Jim Jacobs and his whole crew from Friday Night Network. I can't think of anyone more deserving of Coach of the Year than Coach Will Wagnon. And I'm going to say this school, this community is very, very proud to have him as our head coach and our athletic director. So again, congratulations to Coach Wagnon, the staff, the senior class, and again, this senior class, you juniors, sophomores, and freshmen, And you junior high football players over there in the corner, let me say this. Our motto is character, class, and pride at everything that we do. You juniors, it's your turn next year to step up and be the player that you can be and continue this tradition. We have built a program, and again, tradition never graduates.
Coach, congratulations. How's it feel?
Thank you. It feels great. It's a great award, and it's a great opportunity. I'd like to thank the Friday Night Network for the promotion and the support of high school athletics.
You have had a pretty special season here. Obviously, it all starts somewhere. You came here 4 years ago, and during this special, we've seen a lot of what that road's been like, but we haven't heard it from you. This was your first head coaching stop. Talk a little bit about what it was like when you first got here and the road that's brought you to where we are today.
Well, honestly, when I decided that that's what I wanted to do, was to be a head coach, I understood, that you have to get some experience somehow. And usually to be your first time being a head coach, you're either going to move up in a program that was successful where the head coach leaves and you're a coordinator, or you've got to take a job that's maybe down or not where it's normally is. It's at the time that you take the job, it's really not a good job. You have to build it. And so I understood that if I was going to become a head coach, I had to get experience. And the only way to get experience was to take a job that probably at the time wasn't the best opportunity. A job that I was going to have to work very hard and to build. You're just not going to walk in and be successful right off the bat. So I understood that. But, the thing about it was I did not understand how hard it was to be a head football coach in high school, especially at, say, the 4A level. And, I had a great mentor, Coach Curry at Cherokee County, but there's just a lot of things that you don't understand, you don't see as an assistant. And so that first year was a major learning experience for me. I think I worked very hard that first year. I've worked way harder that first year than I've ever worked in my life, but I didn't understand, how important efficiency was, how important it was. You just can't work hard because a lot of times you're treading water. You're not moving. You're not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so I had to understand that we had to be a lot more efficient with what we were doing. So we had a lot of success. When I interviewed for the job, one of the things that they wanted to do is they wanted more players out there. So we had to go recruit. We had to recruit players in the halls. I met with parents from Munford High School students that had athletes that hadn't been playing football, and I had to meet with the parents and say, look, this is how we're going to do things. We need your son to play. And our best running back my first year was Jonathan Parker. He was a senior. He never played football before. One of the best athletes in the school, and he rushed for 800, was our leading rusher, had the most touchdowns on the team, and that was a guy that I had to go out and I had to sit down with his mom and sit down with him and tell him what our plan was and what this program was about, and kind of sell to him what we were trying to do and get him out there to play. And so it was tough the first year, but once we got everything in order, all of our assistant coaches where they needed to be. Once we got all the players that we needed out there on the field, then it just started to come together year after year, and we built year after year and got better year after year and got to where we were last year. Now, I'll be honest with you, I think that team, is a state championship caliber team. I honestly do. We're a couple plays away from even playing for the state championship. But Aniana made a couple more plays than we did, and that was that. But it's been a great experience up into this point. Not everything has been great. There's been a lot of adversity, but God gives us adversity to build us, to make us stronger, and that's what's happened, and that's why we were able to get to the level we were this year, because of the adversity that we had crossed in the past.
You came here from Cherokee County, very good football program, a lot of tradition, a lot of pride, a lot of success. How did that prepare you for this?
Well, when I started I was with Coach Curry for 5 years. I played college football and played high school football, successful in both areas. And so I thought that I knew football, that I knew what football was, everything, the ins and outs. But when you start coaching, you realize quick, especially when you coach with somebody as great as Coach Curry, is that you don't know football. You really don't. There's a lot that you've got to learn. And right now, as a coaching staff, me and the rest of my coaches, we understand that we have got to keep evolving. We have got to keep learning the game of football, because it is ever-changing, and you'll never know it inside and out. And so, it was an excellent experience. We went to the state championship 3 times. That last time, we were like, this has got to be it. And really, I'll be honest with you, I think we beat a Jackson team that was probably better than us, but we had Mr. Football, so that that kind of evened everything out. But it was an excellent experience. I love the community center, the community and center. Me and Coach Curry today are best friends. And I still talk to Cody, and I still talk to a lot of the players that I coached there. I mean, it was an awesome experience, and me and my family both loved that place, but we understood that it was time for us to move on and to take on a different opportunity.
I'm curious as to what the conversation with Coach Curry was like when you first talked to him about maybe taking this job here.
Well, Coach Curry was great about it. He understood that, and he always told me this, that he thought that I had what it took to be a head football coach. And we were good friends. So being good friends, he wanted what was best for me. But he also wanted me to understand it's not exactly what you think it is. It's going to be a lot harder than you can ever imagine. And he told me that time and time again, that no matter where you go, when you decide to become a head coach, you're not going to be prepared until you actually get out there and do it. And but he was great about it. He helped me in every way possible. He encouraged me, with my interviews and stuff like that. And I think he was he didn't want me to go because we had such a good relationship and we had such great success. But he understood that the time was coming, and that was probably the time, and he was great about it. We talk on the phone all the time, and we help each other out.
I guess another question I'd like you to try to answer for me is, what was the biggest surprise when you got here for you, as far as being a head coach for the first time, and what kind of blindsided you?
Well, just all that goes into the game of football, because when you become a head coach, and a lot of times at the 4A level, the head coach has to do, you have to mow the grass, you have to fertilize it, you have to clean the field house, you have to wash clothes, you have to do all these jobs other than just football. When I was a coordinator, mostly all I did was football. I mean, I taught a class, but when it came football time, all I was football. All the extra stuff, Coach Curry took care of, and it's kind of the stuff that you don't see, and it's just there's honestly not enough time in the day.
And people don't understand. I'm telling you, people don't understand what football coaches go through at the high school level. There's so much to be done to run a great program, and at a lot of places, there's just not enough help. There's not enough help, and there's not enough time in the day. And so, that was when I started as a head coach, I tried to do everything myself. I thought that was the best way to do it, do everything myself. But you can't. You cannot be efficient and do everything yourself. You've got to be able to delegate, and you've got to be able to support your coaches, to believe in them, give them an opportunity, to believe in your assistant coaches, give them opportunities, and let them coach. You can't do everything. Let them help you. They want to help you. They want to help you cut grass. Let them help you do some things in order to improve the program, because they understand, assistant coaches understand that there's a sacrifice, and they have to sacrifice too. And so it took me a while to understand that I had to begin becoming more efficient, and the best way to become more efficient is to start delegating responsibilities and trusting and believing in my assistant coaches.
Talk about the expectations here when you took the job. I mean, the program was pretty down when you got here, but back in the 90s, this was a pretty high-profile football gig. Talk about, the way you perceived expectations here of what this community expected to happen when Will Wagnon got the whistle.
Well, and two major things that they wanted to do when I got here, the community, everybody. They wanted more players out there. They finished, I think, that Oak Grove game with 18 football players, so there was 8 players on the sideline when they were out on the field. And so they wanted more players out there. And secondly, they wanted to beat Lincoln. That was the biggest expectation. And I never knew, I'm not from Munford or Lincoln, so when I was at Hoax Bluff, we had a big rivalry at Glencoe, and it was a really big rivalry, but it wasn't to the nature that the Munford-Lincoln rivalry is. And I've never seen a high school rivalry I've never been a part of a high school rivalry so strong, and that, basically that comes from hatred of the two, the two hate each other,
yeah.
So,
we want to beat them even if it's at a stoplight.
And that was the biggest expectation, was to beat Lincoln, because at the time, Munford hadn't beat Lincoln in 7 years. And so, I mean, that's mostly all I heard from the day I took the job until we started that first game. How are you going to beat Lincoln? Now, what are you going to do to be able to beat Lincoln? And so once we crossed that and were able to cross that expectation and be successful at it, then the expectations of the community have been great, but they've been realistic. But I'll be honest with you, the expectations of anybody will never reach the expectations I have of myself and the program.
Yeah.
I came here to win a state championship, and that's that. As long as I'm coaching, that'll be one of my expectations, because I've been there, I've done it, and I know what it takes. Now, it don't always work out, because you've got to have a lot of luck and a lot of different things go your way in order to win a state championship. But for the most part, that's my expectation. And so, that's the ultimate goal, and their expectations can never be higher than that.
You kind of got sucked into the Lincoln thing when you first got here. I remember an interview we did earlier this year where we were doing a piece for our magazine, and you told me that you changed the way you prepped for Lincoln this year versus how maybe you had done it in the past, because maybe you had bought into the hype of it a little too much.
And I did. See, we put a lot of emphasis on it because the community put a lot of emphasis on it when I first got here. Okay, so we won that ball game, and at that time that's what the team needed. They needed the emphasis on that game. That's just the way they responded. My second year here, we still had the same emphasis hard, and we actually had an opportunity to win that ball game. They kicked the last second.
Lost it on a field goal. We were here for that.
There's a couple. I look back on that video, and there's a couple mistakes that we made in a couple plays. We should have won that ball game, but we didn't. And I thought we played very well, and that's what that team needed. They needed to put a heavy emphasis on beating Lincoln. the juniors and seniors, the next year, we still had that same emphasis on Lincoln. But we were a lot better football team. We didn't need the emphasis on Lincoln as much because we were at the point where we should beat them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
We're at the point where, our emphasis needs to be on us, not on Lincoln. The previous 2 years, Lincoln was probably better than us, okay? So we had to put extra emphasis on Lincoln in order to play up to a higher level. We had to play to a higher level because if we didn't play to a higher level, we didn't have a chance to beat them, okay? So I believe, 2 years ago, we were as good as Lincoln. So we didn't need to put that extra effort and the extra passion and all the extra things that we put into it, I think kind of hurt us because we were as good as them, and instead of bringing us to a higher level, it brought us down. It was just too much hype, if you know what I'm saying. So last year, I learned from my mistakes, and I ain't got any problem with changing. We changed it. We took every game as one game at a time. Every game's the most important game we played. And you can ask any of them players when you walk out there, what's the most important game, and they'll tell you the next one. That's one thing that we talked about, and we understood that we had a great football team. It's not about them. It's about us. It's about how we execute. It's about how we do things. We're not going to worry about what they're doing or who they are. We're going to worry about what we're doing and who we are. And so when we established that this year, I think that helped us. And, this year we kind of put a little too much maybe hype on Clay Central. And, we worried about them a little bit more than worrying about ourselves. And the Clay Central game was great for us because it was an eye-opener. It put us in the right direction. But we didn't play well. And Clay Central wasn't, football is more than just a game. It's a game of matchups. And they weren't really a great matchup for us. Our things that we did great and the things that they did great kind of didn't work together. And so it wasn't a good matchup for us.
How do you get from where you were when you started here to where we are today? And how much of that was Tavon and Monteo and some of these seniors? And what is life like after they get their diplomas now?
Well, you'll never be able to replace the seniors that we had this year because we had 4 guys that started as freshmen. At a 4A level, that's not to be a successful 4A level. You better not be starting any freshmen. Okay. But they started as freshmen. They're outstanding leaders, outstanding people, outstanding football players. So we'll never be able to replace them. And we knew when I sat down with the coaches. We had a coaching staff meeting, my first coaching staff meeting at Munford, and I sat down and I had a plan because I'm a type person that I like to be organized and I like to have some kind of plan. I like to have it right there written down where I can see it. And we had a plan, and I told them coaches that our plan is by the 4th year, we're here. We should have Munford where it should be, and we continue to work the plan, and I think this year we got to where we were supposed to be. But replacing those guys, they're unbelievable guys, and they're just so fun to be around and great leaders. But what they have done is, my first year, we had a very talented football team. As talented, almost as talented as anyone we've had here. We just lacked a little bit of the leadership that this bunch had. Well, what this bunch has done is they have built leadership throughout the football team. So now everything is easier. All right? Everybody knows what to do. Everybody knows what I expect. All the coaches know what I expect. This will be the 3rd year in a row coming up. This fall will be the 3rd year in a row. We've had the exact same coaching staff. So, everybody kind of seems to mesh together. So, we are going to lose a lot of football players, but we still have a lot of excellent people and football players coming back. And it's only going to get easier because they're only going to keep understanding more and more what we expect, and they're going to put it out. And, we've been working out up to this point. And I'm telling you, I'm really excited. I know we're in a really, really tough region, and we're in the South, and we have I told Coach Fawcett from Childersburg the other day. He called me. We were talking about our schedules, And I said, you know, we BCS, we've got strength schedule. We got to be ranked number 1 for the 4A with our schedule, because our non-region is Clay Central, Cleveland County, Lincoln, and Talladega. I said, you know, that's 3 5A schools and a really good 4A on our non-region. And with our region, you know, we've got to have one of the toughest schedules. But, you know, I think that's what we need, because if we can get through that schedule and make it to the playoffs, then it won't be as taxing in the playoffs. And we're to the point, I believe we've got the program to the point now where it's not about how many games you win, it's how far you go in the playoffs. And that's kind of what we're looking at. So, you know, it's going to be hard to replace those guys, but I'm really, even with one of the toughest schedules of any 4A school, I'm really excited about this year coming up, because the guys have really responded to understanding that now, you know, Tavon and them are gone. Now it's your time.
Yep, you got to step up.
Right.
Let's talk about family a little bit. We've had a chance, obviously, to sit down with your wife, Tiffany. I can't imagine that being married to a coach is anything close to easy. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, my wife and my kids, they're the backbone of me, basically. They hold us together, and they keep me sane, I guess you would say, because if you ask our assistant coaches, or you ask a lot of people, I tend to overreact, and so they're always there for me. Anytime I'm down, my daughters will always be there to say, Daddy, we love you and we believe in you. And Tiffany's always there. I mean, Tiffany's, I would say, without a doubt, my biggest fan. And she would run through a wall for me if she thought she needed to. And she's been excellent, because she understands. She really understands what I'm trying to do. And what I try to do is more than just play football or coach football or teach football. It's teaching kids how to be somebody, how to be great, how to be successful, how to treat other people. I believe 100% that this program's more than football. It's about life. That's the greatest thing about the game of football. You go through so much adversity with other people that it teaches you how about life, and that's a marriage. It's going through adversity with another person. I mean, if you cannot handle adversity with another person, then it's going to be hard for you to stay married. But she understands what I'm trying to do, and so because of that, she gives me the ultimate support, and she understands that I have to sacrifice. There's some sacrifices that we have to make with our family. There's some times that we don't get to spend, that a lot of families get to spend together, because the game of football is so time consuming. And so she understands that, and because she understands that, she's able to still support me no matter what. And she really believes in what we're doing, that it's more than a game. That we're teaching these kids how to be fathers, how to be brothers and sisters, how to be members of society, and because she understands that, she's able to understand that it comes with sacrifice, and without her and without my family, none of this would matter, because they're the most, they're right behind my relationship with Jesus Christ. They're second, so they have to make sacrifices, but they're more than willing to, because they understand what we're trying to do.
It has to be a big thrill to have your dad involved in this with you some too.
Well, my dad is my best friend, and he always has been. And, I look up to him so much, because just the kind of man he is. He is a servant, I guess you would say. In the Bible it talks about Christians need to be servants. Well, he is the ultimate servant. And that's kind of the reason, because I want to be like him. But not only that, he's a great motivator, and he is just a joy to be around. Anybody that's ever been around my dad just smiles, because he's just a great person, but he's funny, and he's just a joy to be around. And so, I'm probably harder on him than any other assistant coach, and he's probably harder on me than assistant coach. Like, a lot of times, when we're getting the ball game, I get real I get really excited and I'm real focused. And so if something goes wrong, you know, it's kind of hard to talk to me because I'll overreact. I have a problem with overreacting. Well, usually the assistant coaches, if something goes wrong, they'll say, Coach T, go tell Coach Wagnon so-and-so forgot his cleats or something like that, or we forgot some towels or something like that, and so he'll go, okay, and I'll probably overreact, but he handles it, and but just an excellent, if I'm able to at the point he is now be the man that he is right now when I get his age, I'll have had a successful life. And like I said, he's my best friend and just a joy to be around, and it really means a lot to him and to me that he's out there.
You talked about how you have to delegate responsibilities to your assistants, and part of that is the trust that they'll handle those things as you would handle them if your hands were on them. And from what we can tell in putting this together, you've got a lot of guys around you here at Munford that you go back a long way with.
And like two of the coaches, we went to high school together, and we hung out every day, So all the coaches here, all the assistant coaches, have bought in and committed and dedicated themselves to what we're trying to do because they believe in it too. And, from that first year to right now, the first year where I tried to do everything to right now, it's just everything is much more smooth because everybody knows what we expect, what I expect, where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do. And since they understand that and they are willing to commit and sacrifice, it makes the whole big picture a lot easier. We've got, I believe it, we've got some of the best assistant coaches. I am blessed to have the best assistant coaches around the state. Now, we don't have a whole lot. We're still working on trying to build more coaches into this staff. But the guys we got are 100% committed. They're going to give everything they got, and they're very good coaches without being committed. They're just excellent coaches.
In kind of wrapping this up, I'm curious, is there a level of satisfaction with this season, or is there a level of frustration with getting so close and knowing that you were good enough to play for it all and didn't get the opportunity? Where is your motivation from what the season finished?
Well, first of all, I've got to be satisfied satisfied in where we ended because the hard work, the leadership, and everything that those kids put in. They gave it all they had. They went as far as they could go every day. Every day they came to work. And so, I still believe, I still believe and still expect to win state championships. But, so we're not satisfied that we didn't win a state championship, but I'm satisfied that what we put in and what we got out was about what we needed, what we got. And so, I don't want to be satisfied with not winning a state championship, but I understand the hard work, and the fun we had. We had a great, that was the biggest disappointment for me at the end of the Aniana game was not that we weren't going to play for a state champ. The biggest disappointment was I didn't have another Monday practice with those guys because we had a good time. Yeah. We worked hard. We worked as hard as anybody in the state. I'll write that down. But we had fun. Just being around a bunch of great guys all together, working our tails off for one common goal, and just the personalities, the relationships that we built. That was the saddest thing is that there were no more Monday practices, there were no more Tuesday practices, there were no more Wednesday practices, there were no more staying after. We'll see the guys in the hall. I'll see them at school. I'll see them every day, but we're not out there together as a coach-player relationship, working to a common goal. We had just doing that. We had so much fun, and that was probably the biggest disappointment for me was that was over. We didn't have enough. I wish we could have continued just to practice, even if we didn't have, because we had such a good time together. We we built such strong relationships, and that was, you know, I want to win a state championship. You know, that's what I expect to do. But for the most part, I enjoyed the relationship with the guys, and that's what I was going to miss the most, was those days at practice when we were all together working for one goal, one expectation.
Well, we're going to wrap up our Coach of the Year special with Munford Lions head football coach Will Wagnon, not with something that we did, but with something that he did. And I got to tell you, I was extremely impressed with this when I saw it the first time that it was posted on Facebook. And I guess it was meant specifically for the team and, you know, maybe for the fans. I don't know, but let's talk about it a little bit before we roll it. And Coach, that's the video that you prepared for the team for the bus ride to J.O. Johnson, which, quite frankly, I think you beat a team that might have been a little better than you.
I'm definitely on the same page there, because they were an outstanding football team.
Talk about when you decided to do it and how it all came about, because it's quite impressive.
I had you know, I'm always researching stuff. I'm always trying to figure out better ways to do things, and we did. About every home game, we have what we call an M Club, and everybody goes in the weight room, and we turn the music up as loud as we can put it, and we put up a highlight film on our big screen, and the kids, it's just we have strobe lights, we have a disco ball, and we just really get pumped up before the game. We call it the M Club. And kids love it. They love the M Club. We show a highlight video during the M Club. Well, we do that on home games. On away games, we're not able to do that. So we show a video and have some kind of motivation. Well, so I was researching. I'm always trying to find new ways to motivate the kids. And so I on Football Scoop, I'd watched a video that a guy at T.R. Miller had did. And it was really, I mean, it really pumped me up. So I thought, that's something we can do. You know, since we're not going to be able to do the M Club because it's not a home game, I'm going to make this DVD, and we'll put it in the DVD players. And right before when we actually timed it, we knew the time of the video, and we knew the time we were going to get there. So as we're pulling into the stadium, it was playing, and you know, it really was an honest video. It's really what I felt about this program and where we were and where we were going, and it really, I thought it was, you know, it really displayed our team and what we were about and what we do and that whole team, and it was, I was really excited about it, and I was really impressed and the way it turned out, and I feel like that it had an impact on the outcome of that ball game.
It was very impressive, Coach. Before we roll your T.R. Miller piece or your J.O. Johnson piece, congratulations again on Coach of the Year. You deserve it. You've done a fine job, and keep it up.
Well, and I also want to say thank you again to the Friday Night Network for for your support and your promotion of high school athletics, because a lot of times they don't get promoted and supported like they should. So thank you to y'all.
Thank you, Coach. Congratulations again. Here we go. Let's jump on the bus and relive what the players saw on the arrival at J.O. Johnson in the Northern Regionals of the state playoffs. Will Wagnon, head football coach, and our Coach of the Year here on the Friday Night Network.
We play football at Munford to be a part of something special, to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, and to be a blessing to each other and the ones who played here before us. We work together to achieve a common goal. We strive to play like a champion every rep, every play, every day. We understand that we are not always the biggest, the strongest, or the fastest. But we know that one common denominator to success is hard work. We rely on effort, focus, execution, and fundamentals to meet any challenge that may cross our path. Discipline today, disappointment tomorrow. You decide. Win every rep. Take care of business. Losers walk. Don't cut corners. No excuses, no explanations. I would rather be a woman than a weak man. It's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Vision and focus. Here at Munford, we try not to worry about things we cannot control, for that is a waste of time. We know that we can control our effort, our attitude, and our focus. A true champion is not built during a football game, but champions are built in the weight room, on the practice field, and in the film room. Champions are built when others are not watching. We want to be the best at whatever we do. We want to be great players, but we want to be better people. It wasn't too long ago that Munford High School football was a laughingstock and everyone's homecoming. Pride was just a word. Winning was a lofty goal to be achieved. Times have changed. When you see a Munford Lion now, you see an embodiment of pride. Winning is not a goal, it is our job. Through hard work and dedication, we have changed ourselves and we have changed Munford. You have changed Munford. We are strong. We are proud. We are a team. We are champions. And we are Munford.
All right, break it down.
Guard, balls out. Hoorah!
This has been an exclusive sports production of FNN, the Friday Night Network.